Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with the Lightkeeper. I'm Edward, and today I was kind of thinking about food. I have had a long day at work. I am fairly recently home, and yeah, I'm a little hungry. So if you hear some rumbling in the background, that's probably just my stomach. But thinking about food brings up going out to dinner and menus, what's on the menu, what's not on the menu. Hey, if you're in a restaurant and you know the chef, can you get something that's, maybe off the menu but on the menu for special people? And all this thinking about food and what's what I'm going to have for dinner, what's on the menu for me tonight. Um got me also thinking about consent in the lifestyle, and also as a part of that consent is how do you get there? How do you decide, what what king-tastic things are going to be on your menu of things you like to do, can't wait to try? You know, I do that with the right person, or I'll do that with the right person. And then, of course, there are those things that are the it ain't never, ever, ever gonna happen. The never ever thing is going to happen. But I mean, how do you get there? Especially if you're kind of new. How do you put all this together and then what's it like to talk about with somebody? So yeah, I think today we'll talk about what's on the Kingtastic menu here. So, the first thing that I would recommend as you're trying to put this all together in your own head, long before you have a conversation with somebody else about, your own personal menu and how it matches up with, what they've got going on at their own personal menu and how your menus mesh of things. Um, a quick Google search or Surrey search or whatever search engine is your go-to. Too bad Jeeves isn't around to ask him about this one. Um, anyway, um, is just go on, search out, or even if you're in a group, ask friends in your group or your munch group. Um, where they have, or if one of them has a kink or fetish inventory slash checklist that they could share with you. Basically, these are big old, often long, detailed things that go through and list all sorts of activities from mild to wild. And if you're new, um, keep that search engine handy because there's going to be some terms that you're going to be like, what is that? So keep that search engine handy if you're new, because there will be things on there that you're going to be like, I don't know what that is. Um, and in fact, I guarantee if I went through one today, they're one of the big long ones that are out there. I'm sure that I would have to Google something as well. Um, so if you're new, don't think you're alone with that, because things are always changing, terms are changing, all that good stuff. Um, Also, a word of warning to people who are new when they see their first fetish inventory. There are going to be things on there that are going to be like, ew, gross, why is that here? Because there's somebody out there that's into it. And so it kind of needs to be there, even though it's icky and gross to, 99% of everybody. It needs to be there, so that people who that's their jam can find others who, you know, can share their jam. Um, so real quickly, when you go through and do one of those, the basic simple process is, you find things that, yeah, I've done it, liked it, love it, can't wait to do it again. Or, I am on board with trying this. Can't wait to try it. I'm excited, I'm ecstatic, I'm enthusiastic to try it. And then there's going to be other things that are going to be like, I'm curious. I would probably try that, or I would do that if I had the right partner. Definitely, I'd go there with the right partner, or maybe I'd go there with the right partner. Uh, so the right partner or right situation, trusted people type things, those are going to be called soft limits for those who don't know it. Um, so those are going to be the soft limits. You'll something that you would do or consider doing with the right persons, the right conversation beforehand, the right scenario, the right trust. Everything has to be right. Those are soft limits. And then, of course, there are the things that are never, ever going to happen. You are, nope, not going to go there. Those are the hard limits. Um, so you fill out one of these inventories, um, which is one, and I would also recommend just save a copy somewhere, you know, in your little bit of the lock cloud somewhere that you have of not only your completed inventory, but save a blank one in case you do meet an amazing person that you want to talk about these things with. You would be surprised the number of people who don't have one, haven't seen one, haven't filled one out. It makes it easier if you, or even if they do, that you work off the same one. So it's always good to keep a blank around to possibly share with friends, share with somebody special. It's a handy little kink document to kind of keep squared away somewhere. Um, so the quick kind of word of warning I want to put out there with these inventories or checklists, it can be very easy for people, veterans to newbies, uh, to fall into the habit of going and finding somebody that you kind of like. You have a few conversations, and okay, let's share that. Let's break out that inventory and let's see whether we're digging the same kinks. And you find out you are. Oh, that's fantastic. They seem like they're great. They're awesome. And look, our kinks they align almost perfectly. Okay, we're gonna jump into a relationship. No, no, slow down. I truly believe that before you jump into the what are you into, the fetish conversations, jump into who is this person? Who are you? Get to know them as a person. Find out whether you really like them as a person, or whether you like them as a friend. Kind of get all those horses in a row before you go into, are we, are our kinks aligned? Do we align everything kinktastically as well as we seem to be? Because it's very easy to get caught up in the, oh my goodness, our fetishes, they just work so well. And then suddenly you find yourself in a relationship with somebody who you share amazing fetishes in common, but if you're not talking about your fetishes, you're sitting there at the dinner table looking at each other going, what can I talk about now? So, it's very easy to fall into a trap of using that as almost like I don't know, dating guide. Do we have to match in, 40 out of 50 and don't use it that way. They're designed to make it easier to talk about things that are sometimes hard to talk about. Um, so it's it's a tool to kind of get both parties on the same page, whether it's a relationship, interest, or just somebody you're interested in possibly getting together and playing with, somebody that you have is a good friend, you've established a good trust, and you want to just find out whether there might be play potential there. So either way, they're a very, very handy tool to do, and it's something that if you're new, it's something you'll have to go back and kind of update every so often, because the one thing I can guarantee, as you explore the lifestyle, as you become more and more comfortable in the lifestyle, um, odds are some of those things are going to change. Um, if you gain some experience, some things that you want to try, you might have tried. So they might have gone to, oh, I love this. And you might have tried them and went, oh, don't like this, don't want to do that again. And some of those things that were in the, I'm never going to try that. the more experience you gain, some of those I'm never going to try that become, well, I'm kind of curious now. So it happened. So it's something that yeah, you'll need to consider, updating every so often. I don't know what the magic number is, whether it's years, months. It all depends on you. But it is something that is going to be a kind of a fluid, ever-changing document. Um, so just kind of keep that in mind. But the checklist is a great way, or inventory, kink, fetish, inventory, checklist. Those can be great ways to put together in one place your I'm on board, can't wait to do them. I love doing these things, your soft limits and your hard limits, and having it kind of all in one place to make it easy to talk about with somebody else. So that's where I would start. Now we're going to kind of move into the fun of talking about these things with somebody else. Um, and when you talk about fetishes and things you're into, what you're not into, not only is it important to be able to have this skill to be able to verbalize um, these things that you're into, not into, and talk about, you also have to listen, because listening, you need to listen to the person on the other end who is sharing theirs. Very, very, it's kind of an intimate conversation, even if it's between friends, but listening is so key. Um, well, listen, since we're talking about listening, let's just get a little word from my podcast sponsor out of the way, and we'll be right back, and we can keep talking about listening after we listen to this message. All right, thank you for listening to that brief message, and welcome back. So we are chatting about listening, and just a few thoughts as you listen to another person talk to you about what's on their inventory. Um, Perhaps even consider taking notes, just to make sure you're getting things, or if you've done the digital copy and maybe you've shared each other's digital inventory with each other, you have that, so you wouldn't necessarily need to take notes. That's always kind of another handy thing. I guess the old taking notes means I'm old fashioned and maybe just old, or a combination. Anyway, um, take time to think on things after you have the discussion. Don't be afraid to, in corporate America conference call terms, circle back um, to something that you have a question on a day or two later. It's perfectly okay. Um, the other thing that I want to mention is, be grateful, be gracious, practice gratitude during your conversation about this. Oftentimes, some of these things are not easy to talk about. So let the person know that you're grateful that they're taking the time, and that that they're sharing these things with you, because they're not always easy things to share for everyone. So just remind them that you're grateful, for it, and expect that in return. Kind of, if they don't show that gratitude, yeah, it might be a little bit of something to consider as a possible flag about that person. Um, don't let a no or rejection impact your listening. Keep listening even if you're disappointed. Let's say you're really like me. One of the things I love, talked about it last podcast, is spanking with a wooden spoon. Um, but don't, you know, don't be disappointed. Don't be dejected, and definitely don't stop listening if a yum of yours is not a yum of this other person. If the person I'm talking to isn't into wooden spoons, hey, so be it. Okay. Won't be, won't be playing spoons. Got it? Okay. Moving on. It's that simple. And the other thing is, you need to be honest with yourself through this process. Oh, I guess going back to one more thing with the listening thing, maybe the person you're getting to know has a kink that you think is ew or gross. Remember, don't yuck on their yum. Their yum could be a yuck for you. Um, but don't let that yuck spoil the person because the overall person could be a yum. Just they have something that's a yuck for you, and that happens. So don't let that get you discombobulated if they throw a yuck out there. If they throw out a lot of things that are yucks for you, then that might be they might not be a yum as a person for you, compatible play or relationship wise. It's that simple. But you know, don't yuck on their yum. So please, when you're doing your own kind of self assessment, make sure that you're really honest with yourself first and foremost. Don't say yes to something that, well, I'd probably do that, or I think I would try that. No, just put those into the maybe or the soft limit category. If you're going to say yes to something new, be enthusiastic about it. Um, Back in college, I did my whole college experience somewhat backwards. And one of the backwards things that I did was I had a required freshman orientation class. All freshmen have to take this class to graduate. Yeah, I was in that class my last semester of college. Go me. But one of those things that I heard in the class, and somehow it stuck with me, is when, since it's freshman orientation, we're going to talk about sex and consent and yeah, all that good stuff. But the instructor said, if you can't trust someone's yeses, you can't trust their nos. Um, so it's really the importance of trusting yourself when you say yes, you will do or you want to do something. Uh, so it's very important that you make your yeses enthusiastic and be on board with your yeses. And if there's kind of a little waffle in your mind, put it in the maybe the soft limit category. Um, and so what happens if you're going to, you know, kind of get together for the first time with somebody and, play, maybe even dating a while and it's time to, kind of bring some of the kinky stuff to life. Um, my advice is always treat the maybes or those soft limits as hard limits until you have sat down with your partner or partners and discussed actually bringing them, taking it from a soft limit and turning it into a yes. Let's do it. We've discussed it. We trust each other. The trust is there, and I'm on board and I'm excited. Let's do it. But until then, treat soft limits as hard limits, and always have this discussions before you play and not in the heat of the moment. Passion and arousal. I mean, really, it's kind of like booze or any drug. I guess you know, it will impact your willingness to do things. If you're excited, turned on, it is much easier to say yes to something than when you're, sitting at home at, 6:30 at night wondering what's for dinner and, you're also kind of texting about limits and what you're into. So, yeah, there's a difference. And so always have those conversations if possible before playtime because it can really, it can lead to geez, I wish I wouldn't have done that moment. So another thing, just a quick note for dominance. If during play you're with your submissive and they ask you to do something that's on their soft limit list, um, this is one of those things where you should not go there. Um, I would acknowledge that you heard them. You understand that they want to do whatever, and just say, hey, let's get back to what we're doing, and we'll talk about it and do it next time, um, because it it's plays. It lowers inhibitions. It makes it easier to want to do something. So it's better to put it off, talk about it, and add it in next time than it is to just, oh, well, they're asking for it, let's go for it. Because that can lead to regret after the fact. Speaking of, since this is kind of a big, negotiation process that happens, it really is a negotiation. It's not like you're negotiating a contract for a sports superstar, but you're negotiating the parameters of what you will and won't do, what you will and won't do when you're playing with somebody, whether it'll be a partner or a friend. So it is a negotiation. Another thing that needs to happen is there needs to be safe words and gestures that are talked about and agreed to before anything happens. Um, I believe in keeping things as simple as possible. And with safe words, there's the adage that's been around forever of a traffic light. Green means go. Yep, good. Green, let's go. I'm good with this. Please continue. Then there's yellow, which means, yeah, we got to prepare to stop. In other words, you're starting to push into an area, or maybe the intensity is getting a little too much. Um, Not saying you have to back off, but I'm saying that, we might stop. This might be a lead to me saying the other next, part of the traffic light red, which means stop now. When, red is said, everything stops. Boom, done. Are you okay? What's going on? Everything stops. And I have to say this because I have seen this so many times. It's disgusting. And it really makes my skin crawl that I have to say it. But male dominance, when a submissive says stop, says they're red, their safe word, which mean, red, stop, tarantula, whatever it is, and they tell you that this is the point where we stop. If you are about to climax, okay, it doesn't matter, you're stopping. So many times I've heard stories where the male dominant will not stop because they are close to having their orgasm. And it's just, no. The instant the submissive uses their safe word or their gesture to stop play, it's over, it's done. And I'm sorry that you are that close to climbing your mountain and you're not going to get there. That's what it means. You stop and you stop right there. Um, and also, if you're newer, you may have heard me say safe gestures as well as safe words. There are times in lifestyle play um, where you might see, for example, a picture of a submissive um, or somebody playing the submissive role with a ball gag in their mouth. Well, good luck trying to say red, yellow, or green with a gag in your mouth. Yeah, yeah, no. I don't even think Boomhauer from Family Guy, or not Family Guy, I forget, whatever show where the guy could was just spoken gibberish. Yeah, something like that. You need to have gestures that take the place of words. So the same things can be communicated without verbally doing it. So the other thing I want to talk about safe words here, and I notice that this is probably going to cause some dominants listening to go, "Oh, wait, what?" But dominants, you need to have safe words as well, just like a submissive. And here's why. I know that you guys are, well, guys, gals, whatever. I didn't use guys. I didn't mean it in a gender sense. I meant it as in a plurality of people. Um, that that dominants will have times where they might need to stop play and stop play immediately, just like the submissive would. Um, for example, you notice your submissive their grandma is walking up to the door with fresh baked cookies. And, odds are grandma's not going to appreciate the way you're playing with their grandchild's cookies right now. So saying the safe word is going to be that trigger immediately for the submissive. Okay, something's going on outside in the real world. Play stopping, and I've got to try and bring myself back from where I was to reality now. Maybe you have roommates and your roommate said, "Hey, we're going away for the weekend. Have the place to yourself." Oh, surprise, they're back. Yep. Time to say a safe word, get your submissive, back in the here and now, and yeah, get things sort of sorted back out before they bust in. Um, Maybe you went out for a romantic dinner before playtime, and that dinner suddenly isn't sitting so well, and you've got your submissive restrained on the bed. Yeah, time to say your safe word because you've got to get your submissive um, in a safe position before you bolt for the restroom. Um, and I hate to bring it up, but life happens. What if you have a medical emergency and you're in the middle of play? You need to be able to communicate quickly with, one word to your submissive. We need to stop. It's got to stop, and I need you back here in, the reality space because I have a problem and it's a big one. So yes, dominance, you need a safe word too, because things can go bump for dominance during play, just like they can for submissives. Yeah. So the other thing about safe words, and so few people do it, if you're in a relationship, building a relationship with somebody, and not just casual play things, practice your safe words and practice your safe gestures with your partner. Practice using them. I find it's very important because practice teaches us how to respond to things. It's why athletes practice for hours. It's why musicians practice for hours. It's why people who write, I sit down and write practice things where I, pick an off the wall topic and practice writing on it, even if I don't want to, because it helps me improve my skills. And and in the world of the lifestyle, play is definitely a skill that we learn and we grow and we get better at the more we have. And safe words and gestures are a very important skill set to have and to know how to use. So it's very important because play is going to teach us how to vocalize, verbalize, and signal them, especially in times during play when it might be hard to. And it trains the person you're playing with how to recognize those cues because we can say red is our safe word, but when you are in the heat of passion, for example, red may not quite come out the same as, saying red here on an average weeknight at the dinner table. Um, so it trains, both of you to say the safe word and also the other person how to recognize what it's going to sound like or look like coming from you during those passionate, intense times of play. Um, the other thing I kind of want to send this out to dominance, why I believe it's so important for dominance to kind of lead this, is that many submissives, in the longer you're in the lifestyle, you will hear this, and you'll hear this sadly more often than um, than I think anybody should. Many submissives will have stories that they will tell when a scene or a playtime went too far, and kind of the story ends with them saying, "I wish I had said my safe word, but I was too worried I would disappoint the dominant." So if you practice using safe words with your partner, and if you're a dominant, you praise, you reward the submissive, and you reinforce that what they're doing is good, and you're glad and you're happy. It makes you joyous that they're able to do this with you and for you. It will make it will put that fear aside. They won't fear that they're disappointing you. they won't fear saying a safe word. And it's really going to make your relationship better and more intimate. So seriously, practice using your safe words. Um, so I mean, it's just alleviate the fears that you have that a safe word is bad. Like it shouldn't be in a relationship. It shouldn't be, oh, I hope they don't use their safe word if I do this. It should be, okay, they use their safe word. Great. This is awesome. I'm so glad you did that. Okay. Anyway, so practice those safe words. Know your safe words. You know, safety is really your responsibility. So just if you're going to play, please play smart and safely. Even with a trusted, loving partner, be smart, be safe, because you do have to protect yourself. Because when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, our safety is our own personal responsibility. Even if you have an amazing partner, you still have to look out for yourself and your safety. Truly. So some final thoughts before we wrap this up. Um, when you are having that negotiation period and you're talking, likes, wants, can't wait to do it, soft limits, all that good stuff. For the love of Pete, do it sober. It might seem okay, maybe, boy, some of these things, especially for new people, can kind of be embarrassing to maybe fess up to liking, wanting. And so, it can be very easy to say, oh, I'll grab a glass of wine or two and it'll help the discussion. Don't, because you're lowering your inhibitions. So it'd be very easy to slip and say yes, an enthusiastic yes to what should be a soft, maybe even a hard limit. And to go along with the don't talk about it, while not 100% sober, never play impaired, even with a loving, trusted partner. If you can't drive, you shouldn't drive, don't play. It's that simple. I mean, there's too many things with lifestyle play that can go wrong. It can be dangerous. Don't do it when you are schnockered. It's that simple. Um, the other thing I'm going to talk about, and it's kind of a bit of a bummer, when we were talking earlier about having the checklist or the inventory of things that you're into, and you're talking about yours with somebody of interest, and they're telling you theirs. You can get through that discussion and realize that you really like the person. I mean, you like them, and they're just amazing. But there are either things that you need in a relationship, or things that they've expressed through this process that that they just won't be able to be happy going without these things, and you can't provide it, or they can't provide it to you. So sometimes you can go through this process, um, really liking somebody and realizing that even though you like them, they like you. You keep, somebody's going to have to go unfulfilled. Unfulfilledness leads to unhappiness. Unhappy. So it can be kind of a disappointment. Um, it's rare, but it can happen. So I don't want to kind of sugarcoat anything and think that this process is, all rainbows and lollipops, because it can sometimes not be that way. And for the last thing, let's talk about some French fries. It is dinner time. I am hungry, and some French fries sound fattening and really good. The other thing French fries, actually just plain old fries, does is it's a great acronym for talking about consent. Um, and I don't remember whether I said this before at the beginning or not, but the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom, um, they they took some surveys. They went out and talked to people in lifestyle and found that 1 in 5 people in the lifestyle here had their consent violated within their first 5 years of being involved. Um, so, I mean, 1 out of every 5 people who take the plunge and dive into the pool of, actually meeting somebody in the lifestyle online, 1 in 5 within 5 years will have their consent violated. So it shouldn't be that high of a number. It really shouldn't be 1 in 5. It should be, 1 in 1 million, or one in never. But it is what it is. So that's why fries is so important. It's just a simple acronym that helps make consent very easy. Um, the F is for freely given. There's no coercing, there's no pushing. Oh, come on. I really want to do this. Will you please let me do this? Really? No, there's none of that. There's no coercion. It's freely given. And the R at fries stands for it's revocable, reversible. At any time, any person can say no, even if they said yes before. Even if you've been together before and you've done it before with that person, no, it doesn't mean you can do it now. At any point in time, safe word, no, whatever the negative derivative that works for you, it's 100% revocable. Consent can stop, play can stop. It's informed. And that means everyone understands what they're saying yes to, including the risk. And the reason why I say including the risk is many things within DS sound very, oh, it's a spanking. I mean, really, what can go wrong with a spanking? Well, the person giving the spanking, accidentally their arm slips for some reason, goes high, rather than land on the derriere, impacts a kidney. It can happen. It does happen. So some things are definitely riskier than others, but when you consent to saying yes, you are also consenting and understanding the risk. You are informed. And if you feel that for some reason, especially if you're new, if you feel your partner or you aren't fully informed on something and or the risk of it, don't say yes. Get informed first. And it's okay to say, well, let's talk about that a little bit more. What are some of the risks of doing that? Talk about it. Engage your partner. So be informed. That's part of the consent. And of course, you've probably heard me say enthusiastic throughout the podcast because enthusiasm, being enthusiastic, yes, you know, yes, hot damn, I'm in on that. Let's do it. Yes, enthusiasm and enthusiastic, yes, part of the old fries. And lastly, it's specific. And with specific, the good old spanking example. Yes, you can spank me with your bare hand on my bare bottom, but that does not consent for you to spank me and then you to touch my private parts because I only consented to the spanking, not the private part touching. So consent is specific. So, anyway, now that we've talked about French fries, it's been a long day at work and I'm hungry. Um, yeah, I'm going to get some dinner. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that when you engage in your play, you do so safely, sanely, and you have a glorious time doing it. But remember, please stay safe. It's up to you to keep yourself safe. It's no one else's responsibility. And because everyone listening is going to be keeping themselves safe, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your day and look forward to chatting again soon.